Hello everybody, in this video I am going to talk about intervals, and this is lesson 1. Intervals are simply distances, and when we notate intervals like so, it's really important to notate them correctly and also label them correctly. So that's what I'm going to go over in this lesson. We're basically going to talk about interval size and anything that is below an octave. So anything that is below an octave is called a simple interval, and that's what we're going to focus on here. But anything that's above an octave, larger than an octave, so recall this is an octave here from C to C. So anything that is larger than this is going to be called a compound interval, and anything smaller is going to be called a simple interval. And let's just focus on the simple intervals for right now. So if you just look at the letters, okay, so without regards to how this is going to look on the musical staff, on the grand staff, just consider the letters for a moment. Anytime you choose letters that are one step apart like this, like E to F, or F to G, or G to A, or A to B, but essentially everything is alphabetical order, right? Can go alphabetical order or reverse alphabetical order, but it has to be two different letters that are adjacent. Those are called seconds. Those are always called seconds. And actually, I'm going to write this. Maybe I'll write this down here. But seconds are, and we label them 2. Seconds are always 2 letters that are right next to each other, and they have to be different letters. So it has to be G to A. It has to be G to F, which would be a descending second. G to A would be an ascending second. G to F is a descending second. E to D, that is a descending second. So any of the seconds are always going to look like this on the staff. You know, they're always going to be one right after the other, like this. So it'll go F, G, that's an ascending second, B, C, ascending, and then B, A, that's a descending. And we studied this way in the beginning of the semester, something that we've been talking about for quite a bit. And these are called steps. It's stepwise motion. When you do a bunch of seconds, scales are made up of all different kinds of seconds. So now let's talk about other sizes. So when you skip letters, C to E, E to G, G to B, those are called thirds. And we label it 3. So a third would look like this. This would be F to A, because we're skipping the G, right? There's a G there and we're skipping it. F can go to D. That's also a third. A to F. That's also a third. So all of these are thirds. How about if I use some ledger lines? So that would be E to G. That's also a third. Okay. After the thirds, we get to, and I'm actually going to clean some of this up here. So after the thirds, you guessed it, we get to fourths, and fourths look like this. Fourths are a little bit wider, and fourths are going to skip, they're going to skip 2 letters in the alphabet. So if I start on F, I skip 2 letters, and I get to B, that's a fourth. If I want to do another fourth, let's say I want to do a fourth from A, skip 2 letters, and I get to D, that's a fourth. So A to D, that's what it would look like in music notation. What about from E? So if I start at E, skip 2 letters, and I go to A, and it looks like this in music notation. So that's what fourths are. Now, let's talk about fifths, because that's coming next. So we talked about fourths, which is labeled with a 4. Now we'll talk about fifths, so labeled with a 5. Okay, so all of these sizes work essentially the same. So with a 5, the 5 is always going to look like this. You're going to skip 3 letters. So it's D, E, F, G, A. So D to A, that's considered a fifth. What if I start at B? B would go to F. That would be a fifth. So B to F. And by the way, I've been writing all of these melodic intervals melodically, but they could also be written harmonically, and they're harmonic when you stack them on top of each other. They are harmonic. Okay, so let's finish up with the sizes here just so you can get a sense of what does a sixth and a seventh look like. Those would be our last 2 intervals, because octaves are easy, right, guys? Octaves are like C to C, D to D. I think octaves are really easy. So if we talk about sixes, let's talk about sixths. So sixths are going to be our next one, and those are going to be notated with just the number 6. So a 6 looks like this. A 6 would be like C to A, right? If you're thinking, oh, wow, that's kind of like the submediant. Yes, you would be right. It is like the submediant, counting up to the submediant. I'm going to show you a shortcut in just a second of another way to do it. But C to A, that is a sixth. Let me write a melodic sixth. So this is a sixth, C to A. And if I write it on top of each other, a sixth is here. So that's what it looks like in notation. So if I start at C, it's C, D, E, F, G, A. So C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, count C. I'm glad I did that. Count C is 1. So C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's how you get the 6. That's how it works out on the staff. If I do another one from D, D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means from D to B is my sixth. Let's do one more sixth to get together. So how about, why don't I start from G? Why don't I start from G? So count G is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So G to E is a sixth. And this is also the same as if I said, okay, in the key of G, what's the submediant? You would say E. And maybe I shouldn't say that right away, because that might not always work out, because you may have to be thinking, well, it will work out, but you do have to be thinking in the key in regards to the key signature. There's no E flat in the key of G. So that is right. That would be a 6. Now, the last interval is the seventh, and sevenths are super big, right? They're super wide. So sevenths, and they're indicated by a seventh. So again, count your first note as 1. So A, so let's draw a seventh above A, and let's just pretend we'll say this is A3, because I see middle C right here. So I'm going to do the A that is below, I'll do A3. So count A as 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you get G. Okay? Now, if you thought, wow, well, G is right below A, yes, and we'll discuss that in interval inversion in a second. Let's do another, that's the shortcut to find a seventh, is instead of thinking up 7, it's just to think down 1. That's the easiest way to think of a seventh. It's the shortcut. So for F, if I was going to do a seventh above F, I could go up 7, or I could go down 1, and it's E, okay? If I wanted to go up a seventh from B, I could count up 7, or I can go 1 down, which is A, and then draw an A above in the next octave. Okay, so I hope this helps. This is what all we talked about are interval sizes, and we were only talking about the simple intervals. So now you should be able to count up and label and identify in notation interval size.